So if you could always talk to me, try not to look into the camera.
Yeah.
Not too star-studded, I hope. Go back. Got to find your interview now. There we go. So just double check me there. So if you could try not to move a lot.
Okay.
Try and stay still. So if you could introduce yourself to me, so if you could say your name, position, your club, and your international.
Okay. My name is George David Campese Ma'afu. Currently contracted at Nottingham Rugby. I'm a current Fijian international with 24 caps. And what was the other question?
What position do you play?
Oh, and I'm a loose head prop specialist.
Okay, brilliant. How did you decide to play prop? How did it all come about?
Well, when we were born, we just sort of grew up big boys, and when we first, Dad threw us in the rugby, he sort of just, the coach just said, oh look, they're the biggest boys in the team playing the front row, so that's how it all started pretty much for me and Celeste, yeah.
Why loose head?
Well, growing up they pretty much had tight head positions filled, so they threw me in the loose head position, and I thought, all right, I'll give it a crack, and then it sort of just stuck with me then, and then I just got used to the position, and then it's all I pretty much knew where I pretty much played growing up, so then it just stuck with me all the way through. So
what is the difference between a loose head and a tight head?
From my perspective, a tight head's got more the control of the scrum. He's the base, he's the pinnacle of the scrum. Actually, he holds majority of the weight, and it's whether he goes forward or not marks the rest of the pack as well. So if he's going forward, the rest of the pack's going forward. So with the help of obviously loose and tight. Loose is pretty much just balancing and adapting to wherever the hooker and the tight head goes in regards to which way he's going. Like if he's going forward, then he's got to adapt. If he goes in, he's got to adapt. Loose head's got to adapt, but he's just got to hold the balance and keep it steady pretty much.
Would you agree with the statement that the tight head is probably more the defensive two of the props and the loose head is more the attacking version?
Yes, totally agree with that. The tight head, because at most scrums, well, our scrum for example, they'll say, loose head, we want you up, we want you to go through this tight head, you know, we want you to take this side up, and tight head, we just want you, like, this is an opposition ball, you know. Then on our ball, then our tight head's pretty much got to work, because the loose head's got the same mentality as us. Their loose head's going to try and attack our tight head, so he's pretty much got to defend. Our loose head's got to pretty much attack and do his job well. So
okay, let's move on to what you actually do then. So what is your job as a loose head during the set pieces, so scrum and line out?
In scrum is pretty much balance. Try not to let the tight head go in too much. Try not to get him on like, try not to let him get too much of a front foot. We want him, you know, steady, and we want him back, and we want him down. So the loose head's pretty much got to stay in the contest, to stay square, stay straight, and stay in the fight pretty much. In line-out perspective is get the moves right, you know, seeing off the same hip page as everybody else, getting placed right with the lifts, get your lifts to full length, movements right, and to execute. So
okay, opposite then. So what is your job during open play?
Well, for me, I like to play open. I like to carry a lot. I like to offload. I like to hit the holes, and I like a lot of the pretty much the back row work. But yeah, hitting bodies at ruck and mauls, getting your head in there, getting into the physicality of it all pretty much.
How much of playing prop, especially loose head, is technique versus power? Obviously, you can't have one without the other. How do you balance the two? It's pretty hard to be honest. It's something that you can be trained. Technique and power is two very, very different talents you need actually, and if you for me to balance it right, I just got a mindset. So if I'm going into a scrum, I know power will come with it, but technique is the main focus. So if I can get the two right, then happy days. Which of the side do you think is more technically difficult to play, loose or tight?
Tight head, definitely. Technique wise, if you power comes, most tight heads these days, they're very powerful, but if from my perspective, if you don't have that technique, then you pretty much got a loose head is going for you all day and have you for breakfast. Technique wise, tight head's got to have it. He's got to have it, like in forms of angles and taking your loose head out, you know, hitting him out, engagement and binds with a hooker. So technique wise, he's got to have it. So
brilliant. What are the main attributes a player needs to play loose head effectively? So if you said you need this, 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 and this, what would they be?
Core strength is a big one. Power, definitely the technique. Mindset's a massive as well. That's just pretty much where I come from.
Brilliant. So let's move on then. So how does your training regime do it as a prop? Then I assume it's mostly weight based.
Mostly weight based. Over here in Nottingham it's a little bit different to other clubs I've played at. Over here they focus on working on where your strengths, working away from your strengths. So if I'm strong at chest, he'll work me somewhere else, you know. So it's pretty much different gym program over here. But for me personally, I like to work on fitness, you know. So get around the field pretty much, you know. I don't want to just be, you know, a big old blob of a prop, you know, just walks around the field and just scrums. I like to put 2 and 2 together, you know, and gives me a bonus. But scrums is the main base for me. So
you say there you don't want to be, you know, a blob of a prop. I hate to put it so crudely, but do you think now in the modern game that second aspect of being able to get around the pitch is vital for what a prop needs?
It's vital, very, very vital. Well, if you look these days, you know, they're not really picking props. They just scrum and walk around. Now they're picking props that are scrummaging really, really well. They do their scrums number one job, and then everything else is a given, is a bonus. Props like Makavuni Pola, you know, like he plays like a number 8, but in the scrum he's up front, isn't he? So then you got guys like Alex Cabisiero and, you know, Dan Cole, who pilfers at the breakdown, and he's doing really well. So these days everything around the field is just as much as what you're doing up front in the scrum. So you've put 2 and 2 together, it's a bonus.
Brilliant. Moving on from that then, so how does your diet build around how you play then? Is there anything you're told you can't have? I assume things like beer and curry are just a complete no-no?
For me, I think the main thing is bread. I think because I'm pretty bad with bread. I love bread, so it's probably one of the worst carbs in the pyramid. The trainer here says try to cut off the bread. But for me, if I lay off the bread, I think I'll lose too much weight. So I think I'll stay on the bread. But other than that, my diet's pretty good. Protein, and I got a pretty big intake on carbs, but my protein's pretty good. My veggies and everything. So I think the main thing is eggs. Eggs is pretty good for you. Chicken and rice keeps you strong, keeps you balanced. So it's good.
You say eggs. Do you eat the white and the yolks? Because I know a lot of people tend to have one or the other. You know, they tend to not have the yolks in with
for
eggs.
Me, I eat the whole thing. I don't want to waste it. So I mean, I think not eating the yolk is a bodybuilder's perspective, but I eat the whole thing, man. It's good.
How many calories would you say you eat in an average week then? And sort of how many sorry, in a day for an average week? And sort of how many portions does that give you?
Not to be honest, I wouldn't know, to be honest, with calories, but I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure. I'm not good with the calories. I don't know how much calories I'm eating today. I don't really number my calories, to be honest.
Most props have said that to me.
Yeah, I don't really number it. The more I get in, the more I give out. So
how many meals then would you say you eat a day? Does it vary?
Yeah, it varies. For me, like if we have a triple day, then I'm eating 6 meals, 6 small portion meals, which actually I lied. That's 5 meals, small portions, and then dinner would be, to be honest, would be a massive one. So if that's a triple session day, but then other days where we got doubles, then we got the normal 3 or 4 meals a day. Then if it's just a single session like a captain's run, it's just three meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay.
So.
Moving on from that, do you have any exercises or routines that help prevent injury, especially around the areas rugby players tend to get injured, so sort of your ankles, knees, your shoulders, them prone zones?
As in weight-wise, or like training or rehab sort of?
Both, really. Is there anything, do you have a structured plan that sort of helps you to stop yourself getting hurt?
Well, they do have this thing called the foam roller. I do it quite a bit. For me, it was only introduced to me when I first started international in 2010. And from then on, I just thought to myself, oh gosh, this is better than the ice bath. So it's the one thing I do a lot. I have to spend at least half an hour on it, most every day. Well, if not every day, every second day. I do it mostly after big session days. Foam roller, you just it just attacks your fascia muscle all over your body. So after I go for a half an hour session, I feel like I'm fresh again. So.
Brilliant. Moving on from that, does being a prop, you're subjected to such blunt force traumas as it would, obviously hitting rucks, scrummaging. Do you think that makes you more susceptible to injury, or do you think it sort of hardens you off against injury, or do you think it actually doesn't matter, it's sort of pot luck if you do get hurt?
For me, it depends how you look at it, mate, to be honest. Like, guys, for us in the front row, we're in the contact base quite a bit. For me, I just look at it that it just hardens me up, so I don't really look at the injury side of anything. So for me, my mindset's based on being hard, being tough, and being strong at the contact base. So
let's move on. So obviously your debut in 2010, if I'm correct, against the Wallabies.
Yep.
I presume. What was that like? What was your test debut like?
Oh, mate. I got plucked straight out of club rugby, and I was approached to play for Fiji, and I thought it was a trial, but then they picked me straight off to start. And I thought, oh, what's the go here? So I was quite new to the whole international base. I mean, I jumped Super 15 and everything, and went straight to the international. It was quite a shock for me. But when they said I was playing against the Wallabies, Celeste sort of, I was talking to Celeste, and Celeste sort of said to me, "Oh mate, you're playing for the Wallabies. I hope I'm in there." He didn't really want to tell me he was picked in the Wallabies squad, to be honest. And then when the week came and they picked the squads, they came there Celeste Ma'afu. I was like, oh. So it was probably one of the, for me, it was speechless. Yeah, it was one of the biggest days of my life, to be honest.
What was it like? I don't think a lot of people understand that you were actually directly scrummaging against your brother. What was it like? Was he just another player in a jersey? Was it sort of a weird sort of sibling rivalry, like, you've been my brother all these times, I can get my own back on you now?
To be honest, before we played the game, mate, it just came down to Celeste said to me, it's you got your country to represent. I got my country to represent. We pretty much got to give it 110%. Do whatever it takes for your country. So take the brother factor out of it. Take all that rivalry stuff out of it, and just do your best and come out and you play just another game. For me, I took that on board, but at the same time, I thought, he's quite a big influence in my life. He was one of my idols, to be honest. But I thought, actually, if I can get one on him, I could get something out of this. So I just wanted the 1-0 pointer out of it. So yeah, went into the game, did well against him. He did well, 50-50 if you ask me. And we did come up at one stage of the game where we were holding each other by the jersey, and he just looked up, he went, no. And I was like, okay. So we sort of just split from there then.
I bet your parents are proud, not only having a Wallaby son and a son playing for Fiji, but both starting, both going against it. What was your parents' reaction to it? Were they just like, here it goes? Actually,
mum and dad pretty much said, if I see you two fighting out there, I'll run on that field myself and give you both a hiding. I think we were pretty much more scared of that than the games. So they were very happy. It's a quite a massive trademark for us in our family history for us in our family, so it's good.
Well, I think I'm right in saying you're still the only brothers to go up against each other. Forward brothers, I think that is.
I think so, yeah. I think. Oh well, I know we're the first two prop brothers to pack down against each other, like on the same side. But
I think it makes it even unique that they're actually your test debuts for the pair.
Yes, both debut and both different nations and both on the same side of the scrum. So
that's amazing. Yeah. Let's move on. So how do you mentally prepare yourself for a match? Let's just say you're in the changing rooms just before you go out on the pitch. Is there anything you do? Do you have any superstitions or?
I got two main superstitions. I listen to music, mainly bit of reggae, bit of gospel, bit of two, mix it together just to calm the nerves down. Because before, for me, every game, I treat every game the same, whether it's international or club or just a trial. I treat every game the same. I just pretty much listen to my music just to calm me down because my nerves are running real high. So music sort of brings me back down, you know, and keeps me level. And then I pretty much another superstition I do is because I got a bad left wrist, I write on there and I put down my favorite Bible verse, Philippians chapter 4 verse 13, which says I can do all things through Christ who gives me the strength. So
brilliant. Do you do anything different at club level and international, or is it both the same routine? No matter
same routine, any game it is, it's the same routine throughout. So
how does the atmosphere differ in the changing room from sort of club to international? Is there a different vibe at an international level?
At international level, it's way more. Like, for example, the Barbarians, I ran out. It's the first time I've ever ran out. It was that marked as the biggest, 67 or 70,000 odd.
Yeah.
At the Twickenham, and it was just couldn't hear myself think at times. So that was probably it's can't describe it, to be honest.
Who is the most difficult prop you've ever gone up against? Or have you ever gone up against a guy and gone, Jesus, this man's good?
Yes, I have. One of the best tight ends in the world, to be Martin Kistro Giovanni. Played against Italy back in 2010, Northern Tour, and it's my first time playing in the Northern Hemisphere, and scrummed up against him, and mate, every scrum was like, oh my gosh, this guy's a brick wall. It's just a brick wall. I just couldn't get him over. So it's toughest prop ever come up.
Last couple of questions. Do you prefer a longer bind when you bind up to a prop?
Yes, longer bind. Yeah, for me, don't want to get too much of my tactic away, but longer bind, it just gives me a chance to. So when I engage, it just gives me a chance to draw him in. Whereas if I'm going a shorter bind, I can't draw him in. I'm just pretty much holding in there. So if I go a longer bind, and then once on engagement, it just gives me that chance to, when the ball comes in ready for contest, it just gives me that chance to draw him out, you know, to pull his bind and then draw him out and draw me into his chest underneath his neck. So
speaking of the new scrum laws, do you like them? Do you prefer them to the old ones? And I think the more critical question is, do you think they're actually working?
The new scrum laws, I like them a lot. It gives loose heads more of a chance to fight in regards to engagement, because most tight heads are pretty big, and most tight heads rely on their engagement just to hit a smaller guy down, or is a bigger guy, just to hit him down. And if the pre-bind is working well, to be honest, if you watch majority of the scrums now, it gives both loose and tight a better fight, especially the loose head. So the bind, a lot of penalties went because of loose heads losing their bind and tight heads going down. Now the pre-bind, they've brought that in to prevent that. So for me, the new scrum laws are awesome. I love them, and to be honest, it's working really, really well.
How do you think personally? Do you think you've adapted quite well to the new laws? Because I know certain teams have taken a long time to adapt to the fact that there's not a big hit anymore.
Yeah, actually, I've adapted pretty well. I think one of my weaknesses before in my scrum, to be honest, was my engagement. I just couldn't get that right, the bind, and couldn't get that right coming up against big props, 145 kg props who just want to smash you down. And then, the refs calls a 50-50 whether, it goes his way or not, then, but the new laws for me is adapting pretty well. I'm enjoying it. So.
A very intriguing question now. Who do you think is the best loose head prop in the world, and why? What do you think that makes them stand out as just being the best?
It's a hard one, to be honest. There's quite a few up there. One of the biggest ones up there now is Mako Vunipola. He's really, really good. He's just one of the best, I reckon, because he's an all-rounder, physical all-rounder, and it's hard to get a loose head that's an all-rounder like he is. Kian Healy, one of the strong guys in the game, toughest guys in the game. He's a bit of an all-rounder as well, so it's pretty hard. It's hard to say. There's quite a few up there. Alex Cabicierra's up there as well, so yeah, it's hard to say.
Brilliant. Now the last thing, this is possibly the most critical part of this interview. You're a prop, big strong man, so we need some stats. So what's your biggest bench press, squat and deadlift? And for the record, this will be compared against your brother.
Well, my biggest bench press is 185 for 3. My biggest squat was 240 for 6. I've been told I can do more, but I've never gone any higher than 240. And what was the other one? A
deadlift.
A deadlift was Deadlift was around 280, I think, or 280, 290. 280, that's for 3, yeah. So
That's absolutely brilliant.
cheers, mate.